Here's the social science fact that you must learn in order to emancipate your mind from white mental slavery. That is that people do not function based upon reality nor facts. People instead function based upon what is perceived as being true. This is why social scientists says that perception of what's true is much more important than what actually is true for controlling people and for steering a society towards an objective. True power lies in only what's perceived as being true. To demonstrate this fact that people function based upon what is perceived as being true rather than what actually is true, I'm going to use the story of Adam and Eve. More specifically, I'm going to demonstrate that the Adam and Eve story is a false one created to relegate women to a false subordinate status beneath men. Case, point, and proof. According to the biblical story of Adam and Eve, a woman came after a man from the rib of a man at the request of a man, and to be a helpmate of a man, and therefore to be essentially to serve a man. The Adam and Eve ideology is even embedded within our marital vows, wherein which brides are traditionally made to recite the vow to obey their husbands. However, the absolute truth regarding the Adam and Eve story is that there exists no scientific evidence that a man came first and that a woman came later from the rib of a man. In fact, all scientific evidence refutes the Adam and Eve story. The oldest human remains found are that of a woman. According to the Bible, Adam and Eve came into existence between 4,000 and 8,000 years ago. However, there are ancient female mummies found within Africa's ancient Egypt that are many thousands of years older than that biblical timeline. Furthermore, the oldest human remains discovered are those of a woman, and she's estimated to have lived around 1 million years ago. We also know that the Bible's claim that Adam and Eve were the first people on earth is totally false, because radiocarbon dating testing of the Great Sphinx has scientifically proven that it is many, many thousands of years older than the Bible's claims of when Adam and Eve were created. All scientific evidence proves that the story of Adam and Eve is a complete work of fiction. The fact is that no woman has ever come from the rib of a man, but all men came from the womb of a woman. But millions of people are not functioning based upon these true facts. Millions are instead functioning based upon their perceptions of what is true. Their perception that the Adam and Eve story is a true one. And because millions believe that the story is true, this prevailing narrative has successfully relegated women to a false inherent subordinate status to men. Here's a quick side note. Declaring women as being subordinate to men is actually a European concept. Within our ancient African tradition, women were not labeled as subordinates. Men are the protectors, builders, hunters, and providers, because we are the physically larger and stronger of the sexes. Women conceives our offspring, give birth, and are the nurturers to our children, and therefore logically should be protected, provided shelter for, and resources for from the larger, stronger man. But women are not subordinates. Within our ancient African tradition, before the Europeans colonized our minds, the roles and relationships between men and women were often compared to that of the human hand. The back of the hand can be made into a fist to inflict harm and to defend. The front of the hand can be used to prepare meals, can be used to caress. The back and front of the hand perform different functions, but neither side of the hand is a subordinate to the other side. Likewise, women are not subordinate to men. What is required for a good relationship is not that a woman be submissive, but instead mutual respect and admiration for each other. Both sexes should respect the function of the other within a relationship, ensuring that the woman always feels loved and appreciated, and ensuring that the man always feels respected and appreciated. We get along best by having mutual respect and appreciation for each other. Okay, now I'm returning to the story of Adam and Eve. That false story demonstrates how a society can be made to function based upon false prevailing narratives rather than the true factual reality. It doesn't matter that the narrative is untrue. All that matters is that people believe that the narrative is true. It's a social science called the illusionary truth effect. An illusionary truth effect is when the public have been made to believe that false information is true because they're being constantly subjected to the false information. And then their thoughts and behaviors aligns with the false information, thus inaccurately perceiving reality. To better explain it more clearly, an illusionary truth effect is when people have been repeatedly fed false information and they then start functioning based upon the false information instead of the true reality. And again, it doesn't matter that the prevailing narrative is untrue. All that matters is that the public at large believes that those prevailing narratives are true. I just explained that the Adam and Eve story is a false one created to produce an illusionary truth effect that relegates women to a false subordinate status beneath men. Okay, now that you understand what an illusionary truth effect is, it should now become easier to understand what the real matrix actually is. The real matrix is not a computer simulation. It's not a movie, nor does it have anything to do with a red pill. The real matrix is an enormous illusionary truth effect that has been created by false white exalting and false black marginalizing narratives that has been constantly and repetitively fed into our society, and the public at large function based upon those narratives rather than a true reality. This is the true matrix. It's a false worldview that has been indoctrinated into our collective minds since birth through the white society's monopoly over information. Case, point, and proof. Through their monopoly over information, the white society has misled millions to believe that most inventions that have revolutionized the world came from the minds of Caucasians, and manipulated many to perceive black people as being the leeches of society that haven't invented much throughout history. Doing so has created an elaborate illusionary truth effect that is designed to create and sustain false assumptions within the society that aids in maintaining white social capital and white social dominance over the black population. This illusionary truth effect is also the core reason for the false feeling of superiority that many whites possess, and the feelings of inferiority that many black people now possess. However, the true hidden reality is the exact opposite from what the white ruling class has misled millions to believe. Case, point, and proof. After slavery was abolished in the U.S. in 1865, beginning from 1870 through 1940, African Americans submitted and filed 726 invention patents to the U.S. Patent Office. Those numbers of patent applications submitted by African Americans more than doubled those submitted by whites during the same time frame. And this was achieved in spite of the fact that African Americans then made up less than 3% of the entire U.S. population. Furthermore, for a people to go directly from being enslaved to then producing so much inventions in such a short time span is astounding. This scenario of black people outperforming whites at producing revolutionizing inventions has never ended. It's merely deliberately hidden from the public through the white society's monopoly over information. The hidden fact is that in spite of cultural traumas wrought by the injustices of white racism and slavery, most inventions that have revolutionized the world were in fact either invented by black people or were directly inspired by early inventions made by black people. Without black people, there would exist no motors, no automobiles, no airplanes, no helicopters. Without black people, we would not have skyscrapers. We only have skyscrapers because black people invented the elevators, the air conditioning, and central heating, which are essential in order for people to live or work within skyscrapers. Without black people, there would exist no internet, no cell phones. We wouldn't have cameras and microphones on our cell phones if it wasn't for black people. We wouldn't have the accurate weather forecasting system. We wouldn't have the cataract laser removal scope. There would be no emails, no GPS, no hearing aids, no touch-tone phones, no caller ID, no home surveillance security system, no home game cartridges. There'll be no steam engines, no traffic lights. Without black people, there would exist no refrigerators, no refrigerated trucks, therefore no ice cream trucks, no blood banks, no dry cleaning, no lawnmowers, no doorknobs. We wouldn't have 3D movies, etc., etc. Black people have in fact enriched the lives of nearly every person on this planet through our many inventions. But this is not the reality that people are functioning based upon. It's actually the genius minds of black people that moves the world forward. Here's a second example of how false narratives are used to create an illusionary truth effect for maintaining white social dominance over the black population. Through their monopoly over information, the white society has also manipulated millions to believe that their racial group are the highest evolved Homo sapiens and to perceive we Africans as being the lowest evolved Homo sapiens. They subliminally conveyed this message by placing their racial group at the highest end of the Darwin evolutionary chart while placing the darkest color upon the lowest evolved on that chart. That's subliminal racism. However, the truth is that it's only we Africans that are scientifically classified as being Homo sapiens. We Africans are in fact the only true homogeneous species. Caucasians and all other racial groups are actually scientifically classified as being Homo sapiens sapiens. The additional sapiens refers to the modern humans that evolved from lower subspecies primates. Unlike Caucasians and all other groups that evolved from lower primates, the Darwin evolutionary theory chart does not apply to we Africans. We Africans have always been Homo sapiens. Genetics studies have scientifically confirmed that Africans' melanated chocolate-colored skin and black woolly hair type are the direct result of Homo sapien DNA. DNA testings have also proven that Caucasians are not African albinos that turned white due to migrating to the colder climates of Europe, as they misled millions to believe. The DNA tests have scientifically proven that their pink-colored skin and animalistic hair type are the direct result of their primate Neanderthal DNA. The implications of these findings are enormous. This means that Caucasians are literally Neanderthals that masquerade themselves as being the highest evolved albino African Homo sapiens. However, Neanderthals evolved as totally separate species from we African Homo sapiens. Although Caucasians clearly share more physical characteristics with those Neanderthals of Europe than they presently do with we melanated Africans, they have totally separated themselves from their Neanderthal ancestors and falsely attached themselves onto we Africans to falsely give themselves a Homo sapien origin. But the truth is that we are of man and they are of mankind. This might be a bit of a disappointment to those of you who have been conditioned to favor the premise that all life began in Africa and spread throughout the world. But that story has totally fallen apart by scientific evidence. Everything you've been taught about white society are lies. The white oppressor's greatest power over black people is the fact that they've colonized our minds to blindly believe whatever lies they tell us to believe. Therefore, most of us rarely, if ever, questions the validity nor fact check anything stated by them. This allows them to keep us believing the fraudulent worst narratives about ourselves. Furthermore, it allows them to condition us to perceive ourselves through a false, inherent, inferior identity that aids them in maintaining their social dominance over us. It is time to wake up to our reality. I never said that what I teach would be easy for everyone to comprehend. I only said that it would be the knowledge that emancipates your mind from white mental slavery. One love and peace.